guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with my husband today in a little bit of a dark video. We have no power, we just had extremely bad storms and tornadoes. So it's exceptionally cool. You can hear the ticking of the clock. I wonder if they can hear it.
It's really funny how when the power goes out, like all the little electronic hums and like the
realize.
air conditioner and it's so quiet.
It is extremely quiet. So we decided to film a video. Now, I wanted to do a couple of videos regarding the authenticity of things in Disney World. Now, if you're not familiar, Disney absolutely is made up fantasy things that are not real, but Disney is also representative of different parts of the world, and I think it is quite authentic, and I wanted to dive into that a little bit more. So in today's video, we thought we would talk about Port Orleans French Quarter and its comparison to New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, if you're not familiar, New Orleans is, like I said, in the state of Louisiana, in the southern part of the United States. It's on the Gulf of Mexico, and it was founded in, I just looked this up, I didn't know this, in 1718 by French colonists.
Look at you, no notes?
I just looked it up. It was founded in 1718 by French colonists and has a lot of French and Creole influences. They're also quite famous for their Mardi Gras celebration it's the start of Lent. Is it the start or the end? It's the start of Lent.
The beginning.
It's the beginning of Lent. We were there like the day after Mardi Gras ended, so we got to see kind of the aftermath. They have quite the party. Bourbon Street is known for its drinking and their hurricanes, but New Orleans is very, very different from the rest of the country. Now, we were actually at Port Orleans French Quarter first, and then we went to the real New Orleans, so we do have something to compare it to. Now, on the Disney side of things, he did some research as far as what the inspiration was for the hotel.
Yeah, so there she is. And she's just, you can see her tail.
Oh, we should also mention, it is a moderate resort on Disney property.
Yep.
And it is sister resorts with Port Orleans Riverside. So Riverside being along the side of the Mississippi River, except in Port Orleans, the river there is the Sassagoula River. I'm assuming it's Mississippi, or is the Sassagoula... Got a tail on me.
Sassagoula is the Native American word for Mississippi.
I was right. I told you.
So it is supposed to be representative of the Mississippi River. So that transitions into what I was going to say, which is...
Look at her. You can just see
she's
her
laying
feet.
on her back, so you can just see her feet. So one of the cool things about Disney is when they create resorts or parks or areas of parks that are inspired by other places, they really try to be...
She has a question.
They really try to be authentic, bringing in like people from the area, experts, like Animal Kingdom especially. They brought in like craftsmen and people from Africa and Asia to make those areas look very authentic. Anyway, I digress. So, Port Orleans Riverside, or French Quarter, opened in 1991. Obviously designed to reflect the architecture of the French Quarter in New Orleans. By the way, credit to portorleans.org for
I
this
love
info.
this website.
That website is awesome. If you are the person who runs this, you're the source for my stuff here. Your website rocks.
I use it all the time for the map as well. They have a section for Port Orleans Riverside and for Port Orleans French Quarter. Can we lay down?
Yeah, this is really distracting. You mentioned the history of New Orleans, like the city. Disney actually went so far as to create its own fictional history of the two Port Orleans resorts, French Quarter and Riverside. It covered the entire period from the original founding of Port Orleans in 1704 by French settlers Pierre d'Or and Philip Lian, hence the name Port Orleans.
So it's true in that it was from the early 1700s, or I should say...
Yeah, like it's meant to mirror like the actual
early
history
1700s by French colonists.
Yeah, its later sale to the Spanish in 1763 and subsequent settling further up the Sassagoula River of the fledgling outpost of Dixie Landings, now Port Orleans Riverside, it used to be called Dixie Landings, by Jonathan Colby Peace, Colonel J.C., and his family and friends in the mid-1800s. And they have a newspaper called the Sassagoula Times where like all of this was printed. And so like I think they gave it to you or it was part of like the menus or something at the restaurants there. So it gave you something to read as you looked at the menu. You could read the fictional history of Port
wants to wrestle.
The registration lobby, the Port Orleans Mint it's called, is located in the commercial building of Port Orleans Square and is themed after the inside of a commercial bank of the 1800s.
I did not know that.
The courtyard serves as a focal point around which the dining, recreation, and entertainment take place. The streets emanate from the courtyard area in a similar arrangement to that found in the historic Jackson Square district located in the French Quarter. So we went to Jackson Square. And
we did. And we were, speaking of that area, the buildings at Port Orleans French Quarter are meant to quite literally look exactly like the buildings in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep. Just cleaner. Yes. Each year, the Port Orleans French Quarter cast members put on a small unofficial Mardi Gras parade for the guests. The lush landscaping features palm trees.
I'm guessing with less nudity.
Again, Disney. Cleaner. The lush landscaping features palm trees and tropical plants that are reminiscent of those found in the New Orleans Garden District. Pear trees, oaks, crepe, C-R-E-P-E, crepe, myrtles, and magnolias complete the picture. I didn't know there was a tree called a crepe. We live in Wisconsin. Mardi Gras specialist Blaine Kern Artists Incorporated were responsible for collecting and creating the special prop items such as the jesters. Some of the Mardi Gras decorative props were purchased directly from the Mardi Gras warehouses in New Orleans, and the colorful jester figures located inside the food court and on the approach to the Doubloon Lagoon pool, these big like crocodile like plastic things and things, are very closely based on the figure found next to the Canal Street / Algiers ferry terminal in New Orleans.
Point being, it is extraordinarily authentic. It is the smallest resort. It is very easy to walk around. Much smaller than the actual Port Orleans French Quarter. In terms of food, they have Creole and Port Orleans style food. It is, I felt a lot more kid friendly. I do not like anything that is spicy. Even things that are mild are too spicy for me. So I did struggle in New Orleans a little bit with getting things that I thought would be okay to eat, so that my tongue didn't fall out of my mouth. But I did not have a problem with that in the least at the hotel. And I think, for example, they would have something like jambalaya, and they would have shrimp po' boys, but they would not be as spicy as if you had gotten them in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. Most importantly, they have beignets, and if you have been to Café du Monde, which is the most famous place you can get beignets, probably in the entire country, I would guess, which is in New Orleans, you can get beignets there in their chicory coffee. You can get beignets at Port Orleans French Quarter and chicory coffee there as well. However, the difference is the beignets are Mickey shaped. So they're quite a bit larger than the authentic beignets, but it's essentially a fried donut covered in powdered sugar, and it is delicious.
How would you not like that?
Right. And if you get them, you'll see it's like a mountain. It's like a pound of powdered sugar on top. It is so, so good. But yeah, when I was a little hesitant to stay there just because I had never been to New Orleans, and I was a little skeptical of the whole alligator crocodile thing, which we really should have looked up before this video, because I thought it just kind of looked almost like cheap, or maybe cheap isn't the right word, almost like garish, kind of how the decor is in the value resorts. And my thought was, if I'm going to be staying at a moderate, I don't want it to feel like a value resort because you're paying to stay at a moderate.
Right, but it's not like they just put these big plastic figures there for no reason. Those actually exist in New Orleans. Right. It's a replica. It's not a replica, but it's inspired by that.
Yes. It isn't quite as garish as they are in the value resorts. Like at Pop Century, they have the giant Mickey phone. And
that's what they're going for.
Right.
They have a 3-story tall, 4-story tall, I think.
The Mickey phone?
Mickey phone. Yeah.
So yes, that's not to be said in a negative way. They're obviously not trying to do things subtly there if they have a 4-story tall Mickey phone and things like that. But that was just a different vibe than what I was kind of going for at the hotel. Oh, we should mention the Garden District. I can totally see that. We also visited the Garden District, and if you're not familiar with New Orleans, the Garden District is set away from downtown. You can walk there or take a trolley, but it is set away from downtown, and it is the area of very, very nice homes of celebrities as well. We saw John Goodman's house. We saw Sandra Bullock's house. We saw a whole bunch of houses. We saw a ton of celebrity homes there, and it's called the Garden District because the landscaping is so fantastic, and that really is represented as well in Port Orleans French Quarter.
Yep.
You can see that walking around totally. Okay, decor, atmosphere, food.
Santa Claus just went by on a motorized bicycle.
So yeah, that is our experience at both Port Orleans Resort French Quarter and in New Orleans. We've been to both, and I think they are extraordinarily authentic and similar in all the best ways. It's not surprising that if you are having a big drinking party like on Bourbon Street, like for Mardi Gras, that there are going to be some unpleasantries that occur with that. And I feel like Port Orleans French Quarter is all of the good stuff and none of the bad stuff.
Well said. Yep, I agree.
So definitely check it out if you are interested in that. Don't think it's going to be cheesy in any way because it is super, super authentic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.